Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, what? You don't think this looks or sounds good? Okay, fair enough. I didn't think so either. But hey, now that I have your attention, think about it for a second. What if I told you that you don't need to go and buy $1,000 camera to make a good video? Well, there are just two tricks, and I believe that I have a little bit of experience to speak for these. Now, I've been doing YouTube videos as a hobby. Hopefully, one day it could be more. And I've been doing it for over 2 years now. It's been a process of learning. You can spend a lot of money on equipment, but if you don't know how to use it well, you're just wasting money. I have found that lighting and audio are two things that are just severely overlooked. It's something that beginners sort of just sleep on because they are just expecting the image quality to be so perfect. There are a lot more factors into it. And once you combine them, you'll find that you'll create something special, possibly something that will look like this. So let's start talking about audio and consider just how important it is. Arguably a lot more important than the image quality itself. The legendary director responsible for the likes of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, George Lucas himself, once said that sound is half the picture. You may not think this sounds that great right now, and I would have to agree because it doesn't. Because right now, you're listening to onboard camera sounds, and that is just not the way to do it. For starters, you can use a lavalier microphone. These are the microphones that you see people wear them on the news quite often, and they clip to your shirt. They are awesome because they give the chance to really capture someone's voice. It's very up close and personal to where you speak. At the moment, I have a lavalier microphone hidden under my shirt, and it is picking up my voice pretty effectively. You may find that it sounds a little bit better now, and that has to do with the microphone placement. So you will see that I have off camera a shotgun microphone. Now, these microphones are also one of the most common uses, especially if we're talking about creating YouTube content. Now, this shotgun microphone needs to be very close. Of course, I can do it like this, but you also don't want to be basically putting it in your mouth. You also don't want it on camera. They're not the most glamorous looking, and this is also super applicable to filmmakers. So why don't we move this microphone and see if anything happens? So now you'll see this microphone here suddenly sort of just disappears, but it's there. And I believe that you will find the sound quality to be better. But I also mentioned I'm wearing a lavalier microphone. So why the shotgun and the lavalier microphone? Well, one very effective tip would be to use two microphones when recording, especially doing some filmmaking. That is a tip that comes from Parker Walbeck, the man who created Full-Time Filmmaker. And he says one of the most effective tips is to have two microphones. You could always have a backup audio track. Maybe one is too loud and then one is too quiet, and you can work with that. According to VTrep, an online website talking about and focusing on content creation, finding success in making videos and entrepreneurship, there is a misconception that a successful video production only really comes from a high quality image, but this means that they're completely ignoring audio and how the video sounds. Okay, so great. We've got audio down and you think that you've got it, but notice how everything just changed. You see, I had some lights going on and they looked quite nice, but then I turned them off because the point needs to be made, and it needs to really be very clear that lighting is just as important in your video production. There is a basic concept that most filmmakers and people who are into video production have come to understand, and that's 3-point lighting. First of all, you have something called a key light. So you'll see this light suddenly turn on and really change this whole shot. You'll notice that everything looks suddenly better. I mean, you could see me. The image is not grainy like it was. In fact, it was unwatchable prior. The Sheffield Institute for the Recording Arts refers to the key light as the light that basically focuses on the subject. But then we have the fill light, and they say that the fill light more or less does exactly what you think it does. It fills out the rest of the shot. It takes away the shadows and the darkness. Now, for a dramatic type of shot, this might be it, but it's not really ideal because you're still dealing with harsh shadows right over here. Let's do something about it. And now it looks pretty nice. And this is automatically going to get viewers, at least give them a reason to stay because you look good and you look like you put some effort into lighting your shot. Let's add a little more because 3 points, we talked about 1 and 2, yeah? So the third point is called the backlight. Some call it a rim light or a hair light. This is what you saw before. Now it may be called 3-point lighting, but why not add a fourth? I personally like it quite a bit because I like color and I think it pops. There are many ways to do this, of course. It's going to depend on the scenario and the situation you're in. You don't need to go out and get lights like this, because you could also just get traditional lighting for your background. You'll see that I have 2 white lights on my right and left, which are the fill and key lights. So what about the backlight? Well, there we go. It's a bit of an opinion here whether or not you're going to want to have this much light, because if you're doing a talking head style video, which is really a framing quite like this, it's going to work pretty well. But of course, at the same time, it might be too much. So then it'll come down to, the preference of what you're going for. But if you move this around too much, I'm starting to look like an angel. And then we can go over here, and it's not bad. We're going back to our 2-point lighting, but generally speaking, you kind of want something in the background. So that is kind of where I might do something along the lines of this. Now, I personally like it. It's light, it's very bright, but it's working. I don't think that I'm very overexposed, and it looks nice. Of course, we could always go back to our colors, which again, it's going to be a personal preference. It looks pretty nice, doesn't it? Lighting can become cinematic, dynamic. It could be interesting. It could be fun like this. And it is attention grabbing, and it keeps you watching because of how it doesn't look boring. If you just focus on the 1/3 of video, which is actually filming your videos, it's not gonna be enough. You need to make sure you sound good. Put some effort into a microphone and your microphone placement. Make sure that you're speaking into it. Make sure that it is on. Make sure that you have lights. Use 3-point lighting, a fill light and a key light and a backlight, and you can create something that looks fantastic. And then you focus on the content at hand, but make sure that you look and sound good so people will actually watch it, because we all have quite small attention spans. Get out there, turn on those lights, turn on your microphone, press record, and stay creative.